The quality of your life depends on the structure of your days. If you've ever felt like your days are slipping away, like you're busy but not really growing, this is your wake-up call. The 5 pillars of a productive life are not about hacks or shortcuts. It's about building a real grounded system that helps you stay focused, consistent, and in control of your time and energy every single day. Ask yourself, are your habits helping or hurting you? Are you constantly starting over? Do your actions line up with what actually matters to you? This audiobook breaks it down with 10 clear chapters that walk you through powerful shifts, like learning to act without feeling ready, rebuilding trust in yourself, staying disciplined without burnout, and bouncing back even after failure. It's simple, it's direct. It's built for people who are ready to stop overthinking and start taking ownership. You don't need to do everything. You need to start with what matters. This is where that starts. Let's build your productive life one pillar at a time. Chapter 1. Accept responsibility for how your days go. I want to talk to you about something that sits at the center of a productive life, and that is accepting responsibility for how your days go. This idea is simple, but it carries weight. It asks you to look in the mirror without excuses and without blame. It asks you to realize that the quality of your life is shaped one ordinary day at a time, and those days are shaped by the choices you make. Most people want better results, but many are still hoping someone else will change first. They hope circumstances improve. They hope people behave differently. Hope is not a strategy. Personal responsibility is. The day you accept that your life moves in the direction of your decisions is the day your power returns to you. That day is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet and serious. It feels like a shift inside where you stop waiting and start owning. Every morning, you wake up with a fresh page. Some people hand that page to the world. They let messages, moods, and other people write the story. Others pick up the pen themselves. That is my responsibility. It is not about blame or guilt. It is about ownership. Ownership says, this is my day, and I will decide how I use it. If your days feel rushed, distracted, or empty, there is a reason. It is not bad luck. It is not a lack of time. It is the pattern you have been practicing. Patterns are learned, and they can be changed. Responsibility is the starting point of change. Without it, nothing sticks. With it, everything becomes possible. People often say, life is hard. Life can be demanding. But difficulty is not an excuse to drift. Hard days still belong to you. Stressful weeks still respond to your choices. Responsibility does not mean you control everything that happens. It means you control how you respond. That response shapes your character and your future. I have learned that success is not something you chase. It is something you attract by the person you become. That person is built through daily decisions. Small ones, ordinary ones. The choice to get up when the alarm rings. The choice to focus on what matters instead of what is easy. The choice to do the work even when no one is watching. When you accept responsibility for your days, you stop saying tomorrow will fix it. Tomorrow does not fix anything. Today fixes tomorrow. What you do today sets the tone. The way you handle the first hour often decides the next 12. That hour belongs to you. If you claim it, responsibility also changes how you see failure. Instead of feeling defeated, you become curious. You ask, what can I do differently? You stop blaming your mood, your past, or your situation. You focus on your actions. Actions are adjustable. That is good news. Many people spend their lives reacting. They wait for pressure to push them. Pressure builds character only if you accept responsibility under it. Otherwise, it builds frustration. Responsibility turns pressure into progress. It turns chaos into clarity. Your days are made of choices. What you read, what you eat, who you listen to, how long you stay on your phone. These choices seem small, but they add up. Responsibility is noticing those small choices and deciding they matter because they do. There is a quiet pride that comes from knowing you showed up fully for your day. Not perfectly, but honestly. You did what you said you would do. You honored your commitments, even the ones no one else sees. That pride builds confidence. Confidence is not loud. It is steady. When people avoid responsibility, they also avoid growth. Growth requires effort, and effort requires ownership. You cannot grow if you believe your life is controlled by forces outside you. The moment you say "this is on me" is the moment growth begins. Responsibility also brings freedom. That may sound surprising, but it is true. When you stop blaming, you stop feeling trapped. You realize you have options. You may not like all of them, but you have them. Choice is freedom. A productive life is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters with intention. Responsibility helps you decide what matters. It clears away the noise. It helps you say no without guilt, and yes without hesitation. Each day asks a question. Will you lead or will you drift? Drift is easy. It requires no thought. Leadership starts with self-leadership. That means deciding your priorities before the world decides for you. Responsibility also affects how you speak to yourself. Instead of harsh criticism, you practice honest evaluation. You say, "This worked and this did not." You adjust. You move forward. That inner dialogue shapes your energy. Energy follows responsibility. When you take charge, you feel stronger. When you avoid it, you feel tired even if you rest. Tiredness often comes from unresolved decisions and unclaimed days. Your habits are a vote for the kind of life you are building. Responsibility is casting those votes on purpose. You do not need to overhaul your life in one day. You need to show up for this one. Some days will go off track. That is part of being human. Responsibility does not mean perfection. It means recovery. It means getting back on course without drama. It means learning instead of quitting. When you accept responsibility, you stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison weakens focus. Responsibility sharpens it. You focus on your lane, your pace, your growth. People who live productive lives do not have fewer problems. They have stronger responses. They understand that discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. That choice belongs to you every day. Your future is built quietly. It is built in mornings, evenings, and moments when no one is watching. Responsibility makes those moments count. I have seen lives change not through sudden breakthroughs, but through steady ownership. One decision followed by another. One day handled with care, then another. That is how confidence is earned. If you want more control, start with responsibility. If you want more results, start with responsibility. If you want more meaning, start with responsibility. Your days are your life in miniature. Handle the day well, and life begins to respond. Handle it poorly, and life becomes heavy. The choice is not easy, but it is simple. Stand up to your own standards. Keep your word to yourself. Decide that your days will no longer be accidents. They will be intentional. That decision alone changes everything. Responsibility is not a burden. It is the doorway to growth. It is the moment you stop asking who should change and start saying, I will. Your life does not improve by chance. It improves by choice. Those choices begin today. Chapter 2. Train yourself to act despite resistance. Every person alive has faced the feeling of not wanting to do what they know they should. That moment when the alarm rings and staying in bed feels easier, when there's something important to do, but distraction pulls harder. That feeling of resistance is normal, but here's the truth. Most people never fully understand. Resistance will never fully go away. Waiting for motivation is a losing game. High achievers do not wait for the perfect feeling. They train themselves to act even when it's hard, even when they don't feel like it. This chapter is about building that skill, the ability to act despite resistance. It's one of the most important pillars of a productive life. And the people who master this skill, they separate themselves from the rest. Not because they are more talented or more lucky, but because they've trained themselves to move forward when everything inside them says, not now. You were not born with discipline. No one is. Discipline is trained. It's built through repetition, by choosing action over delay. One decision at a time. When you choose to act, even when you feel like avoiding it, that's when growth happens. And not just the visible kind, deep inner growth, the kind that rewires how you think about yourself. People often believe that successful individuals always feel driven, always feel confident, always feel ready. That's not the case. In fact, the more responsible you become, the more resistance you will face. That's part of the journey. You're not weak for feeling resistance. You're human. But you must understand that strength comes from how you respond to that feeling, not from avoiding it. Acting despite resistance means making hard decisions when no one is forcing you to. It means starting even when your mind tells you to wait. You don't wait for inspiration. You move, and the momentum creates clarity. You act first, and the feeling follows. That's how real progress is made. When you start developing this skill, you'll notice something powerful. Resistance usually peaks right before you begin. It screams loudest when you're on the edge of doing something meaningful. And if you can just push through the first few minutes, that resistance begins to lose its grip. The first step is always the hardest, but once you take it, you realize it wasn't as hard as your mind told you. You must begin practicing small wins. You don't need to fight resistance in huge battles. Start with the little things. When your mind says skip the workout, go for 5 minutes. When it says scroll instead of reading, open the book for 1 page. When it says wait until tomorrow, start now for just a few minutes. You don't need to finish everything in one sitting, but you must start. Every time you act in spite of resistance, you build a new message in your mind. I am the kind of person who shows up. This kind of training doesn't happen once, it's daily. It's not about becoming perfect, it's about becoming consistent. Your life changes when you consistently choose action over avoidance. And the beautiful thing is this: every time you do, it gets a little easier. You become more confident. You trust yourself more. You stop questioning whether you can do hard things because you've proven that you can. Start noticing your patterns. Where do you hesitate most? What areas of your life do you keep delaying? When do you tell yourself later? And what's usually the outcome of that choice? Being honest about your patterns is the first step to breaking them. You can't change what you're not willing to face. Be real with yourself. Not harsh, just real. Discipline is not about punishment. It's about care. It's about saying, I want more for myself, so I'm going to lead myself. And that's what you're doing when you act despite resistance. You are leading yourself. You're not waiting for someone to push you. You're doing the pushing. You're stepping into your own power. Most people think resistance is a sign to stop. In reality, Resistance is a signal that something important is on the other side. The stronger the resistance, the more it matters. That's why you must lean into it, not run from it. The only way to weaken resistance is by facing it again and again. You don't outthink it, you outact it. There will be days when your energy is low, your mood is off, and your schedule feels overwhelming. Those are the days that count the most. Not because you'll get everything done perfectly, but because you'll prove to yourself that you don't need to feel amazing to make progress. You just need to show up with what you have. That's enough. Think about where you want your life to go. Think about the kind of person you want to become. Now ask yourself, are my daily actions leading me there? If not, what's stopping me? Is it really time or talent? Or is it resistance? Be honest with that answer. And if it's resistance, take it as a challenge, not a punishment. A challenge to become stronger. You don't need to fight your emotions. You need to guide them. You don't need to be fearless. You need to act while you're afraid. Courage is not the absence of resistance. Courage is the decision to move through it. You don't wait for perfect confidence. You create confidence by doing the thing that scares you. Every time you do something hard, you grow. Every time you break through the mental wall, you discover more about who you are. That's why action is so powerful. It teaches you what comfort never will. It shows you what you're capable of. Build your day around actions, not moods. Moods change, plans stay. And when you learn to follow your plan, even when your mood tries to take over, you take back control of your life. That control is not rigid, it's focused. You still rest. You still pause, but you do it with intention, not by default. Start paying attention to the language you use with yourself. The way you speak to yourself in moments of resistance will either push you forward or hold you back. If your inner voice is always giving you a way out, it's time to rewrite that voice. Speak to yourself with honesty and strength. Tell yourself the truth. This is hard, but you can do it. This is uncomfortable, but it matters. This is unfamiliar, but it's how you grow. The greatest transformation happens not when everything is easy, but when things are hard and you keep showing up anyway. That's how people change. That's how goals are reached. That's how purpose is found. By taking one real action at a time, especially when resistance is screaming loud. You were built for more than comfort. You were built to grow. And growth requires movement. It requires effort. It requires facing resistance and saying, you don't decide what I do, I do. That decision made over and over becomes your strength. You will not always feel ready. That's okay. You will not always feel motivated. That's expected. But you can always choose to act. You can always choose to take the next step. One step today, then one more tomorrow. And before you know it, you've built a pattern. And that pattern becomes who you are. Keep training yourself to act. Not because it's easy, not because it's fun, but because it's how you become the person you were meant to be. Chapter 3. Create structure that reduces mental overload. When your mind is scattered, even the smallest task can feel overwhelming. It's not that you're lazy or unmotivated, it's that you're carrying too many decisions, too many open loops, too many things pulling your attention in different directions. Most people are not tired because of how much they're doing, but because of how much they're thinking about doing. Mental overload happens when everything feels important and nothing feels clear. That's why creating structure is not just helpful, it's essential. It gives your mind room to breathe. It brings order to your day so you can focus on what truly matters. Structure does not mean having every second scheduled. It's not about perfection or being rigid. It's about building a system that reduces stress and increases clarity. When you wake up each day without a plan, the day takes control. You react instead of lead. You jump from one thing to another. Always feeling busy, but rarely feeling productive. With structure, you get your power back. You no longer guess what to do next. You know, and that knowing frees up your energy. One of the most powerful benefits of structure is that it removes decision fatigue. Every choice you make takes energy. What to wear, what to eat, what to do next. When your day has no order, those little decisions pile up. You may not even notice it, but by the afternoon, you feel drained. And it's not from work, it's from the noise. Creating a structure helps you automate the basics so you can save your focus for what really counts. Start by building anchors into your day. These are set points you return to no matter how unpredictable life gets. A solid morning routine is one of them. It doesn't have to be complicated, but it should be consistent. Maybe it's stretching for 5 minutes, reviewing your priorities, or writing down your top 3 tasks. What matters is that it's the same every morning. That familiarity tells your mind, we're in control. Next, create space for focused work. That means blocking off time for what matters most. Don't wait for free time. Schedule it. If you don't protect time for deep work, distractions will fill the gaps. Structure means making time for what you want instead of hoping it shows up. It doesn't have to be hours. Even 30 minutes of focused effort each day adds up fast. Clutter in your environment adds to clutter in your mind. Structure includes physical space, too. When your desk is messy, your brain picks up on the chaos. You might not realize it, but it adds to the mental load. Keep your space clean. Keep your tools where you can find them and remove what you don't use. A clear space supports a clear mind. Part of structure is knowing what not to do. Most people have endless to-do lists, but no system for saying no when everything is urgent. Nothing is important. Use structure to limit your priorities. Choose your top tasks and finish them before adding more. You don't need to do everything. You need to do what matters and do it well. Technology is a powerful tool, but without structure, it becomes a trap. Notifications, tabs, emails, alerts. They're all fighting for your attention. Build boundaries around your tech. Check your phone on purpose, not out of habit. Set times to check messages. Close what you're not using. Structure gives your brain permission to focus. You also need space in your day for recovery. High productivity is not about constant action. It's about being intentional with your energy. Add breaks into your day, not as an afterthought, but as a planned part of your schedule. Go for a short walk. Breathe. Disconnect. Your brain needs moments of quiet to reset and stay sharp. Evenings need structure too. How you close the day matters. It's easy to stay up scrolling, telling yourself you're relaxing, but your mind stays active, overloaded with input. Create a simple night routine. Reflect on your day. Write down what worked and what didn't. Plan tomorrow before it begins. That way, you don't carry mental clutter into the next day. Structure helps with anxiety. When you feel overwhelmed, it's usually because you don't know what to do next. With structure, the next step is clear. You don't have to think about everything all at once. You only need to focus on what's in front of you. That one shift changes how you experience the day. Building structure also means protecting your energy from things that don't serve your goals. That means fewer distractions, fewer unnecessary commitments, and more time spent with intention. You don't owe your time to everyone who asks for it. You owe your time to the life you want to build. It's okay to start simple. One routine, one block of focused time, one system for managing your tasks. Don't try to change everything overnight. The goal is to reduce mental overload, not create more of it. Start with what feels manageable. Build from there. Small steps make a big difference when they're consistent. Structure should fit your life, not someone else's. Don't copy someone else's system because it looks impressive. Build something that works for you. If you're a morning person, protect that time. If your focus is best in the afternoon, plan your biggest task. Then use your natural energy patterns to your advantage. Write things down. Don't rely on memory. Mental clutter often comes from holding too much in your head. Use a planner, a notebook, a simple app, whatever works. Offload tasks, reminders, and ideas so your mind can focus on the present moment. A brain that's trying to remember everything can't fully engage with anything. Celebrate progress. Structure should support you, not pressure you. When you finish what you planned, take a moment to notice. That's how you reinforce the behavior. You're teaching your brain this matter. Chapter 4. Build self-rust through kept promises. Self-rust is one of the most powerful forces a person can build. It's not about being confident in every situation or knowing all the answers. It's about becoming someone you can count on. Not someone who says things just to sound good in the moment, but someone who follows through when no one else is looking. That kind of trust is built one small promise at a time. And if you're not keeping the promises you make to yourself, it doesn't matter how many goals you write down, how many books you read, or how much motivation you consume. Because deep down, you'll always question whether you'll actually do what you said. This is where many people struggle. Not because they don't have potential, but because they've broken so many promises to themselves that their belief has eroded. They've said they'll wake up early, but hit snooze again. Said they'd stay consistent, but quit when it got hard. Said they'd take their goals seriously, but kept pushing things to next week. These moments seem small, but they carry weight. Every time you break a promise to yourself, even if it's quiet, your mind remembers, and the more it happens, the harder it becomes to trust your own word. Rebuilding that trust doesn't come from making bigger promises. It comes from making smaller ones and keeping them. It comes from setting a goal so simple you can't fail, and then doing it without excuse. Not to prove something to others, but to start showing yourself that your actions match your words. Because when your actions and your words are aligned, you stop needing motivation. You stop second-guessing everything. You start believing that when you say something, it's as good as D. Building self-rust begins with honesty. Not the kind you post about, but the kind you sit with. You have to get real about what you've been avoiding. Where have you made promises you never followed through on? Where have you let yourself off the hook? Where have you been performing for others while quietly giving up on your own goals? These aren't easy questions, but this is the kind of honesty that sets you free. Once you've owned the truth, you can begin again. No one is asking you to be perfect. No one expects you to get it all right from the start. But if you're serious about growth, you have to take your own words seriously. Start small. Pick one thing you've been avoiding. One task, one habit, one change. Make a promise around it and keep it. Don't overcomplicate it. If you say you're going to journal for 5 minutes, do it. If you say you'll go for a walk after work, do it. Not for results, for proof. You're showing yourself that you can be trusted again. And when you start keeping those small promises, something shifts. You stop feeling like an imposter. You stop needing others to validate your progress. You start feeling grounded. There's a quiet power in knowing that you'll do what you said you would do. That power builds momentum. And with momentum, the promises you keep get bigger. But they only get bigger after you've proven you can handle the small ones. Self-rust is also about how you talk to yourself when you mess up. You will fall short. You will miss some days. You will make mistakes. But if your first instinct is to judge and tear yourself down, you'll stop trying. Self-rust is not built on perfection. It's built on recovery. When you fall, how quickly do you get back up? When you miss a promise, do you recommit or walk away? People with strong self-rust don't expect perfection. They expect honesty and consistency. It also helps to write your promises down. Keep a visible list of the things you're committing to. Don't rely on memory. When you write it down, it becomes more real. You can track it. You can look at it at the end of the day and ask, did I follow through? That daily check builds awareness. It builds discipline. And discipline is how trust is built. Be careful not to make emotional promises. A lot of people set goals when they feel excited or frustrated, but when the emotion fades, the promise disappears. Real promises are made from clarity, not pressure. Before committing, ask yourself, am I willing to follow through on this even when it's not convenient? If the answer is no, then it's not a promise, it's just a wish. You also need to stop measuring yourself by what others are doing. Self-rust is internal. It's not about who's ahead or who's behind. It's about being better than you were yesterday. Comparing your timeline to someone else's will only create noise. Focus on your path. Focus on your progress. Focus on what you said you'd do, not what they're doing. Another way to build self-rust is to protect your time. If you're constantly saying yes to things that pull you away from your goals, you're breaking promises without realizing it. You say yes to someone else, but you're saying no to yourself. That creates internal conflict. Boundaries matter. Saying no is not selfish. It's a way of staying loyal to the life you're building. Keep in mind that no one else can build your self-rust for you. People can encourage you. They can support you, but they can't make you follow through. That's on you. And that's a good thing, because it means you're in control. You don't need to wait for better conditions or more motivation. You can start now. You can start today. You can become someone who keeps their word, not just to others, but to yourself. And when that happens, you feel it. You walk differently. You speak with more clarity. You start making decisions faster, not because you have everything figured out, but because you know you can count on yourself to figure it out as you go. That's what real confidence feels like. Every time you do what you said you'd do, your identity gets stronger. You stop needing to prove yourself, and you start becoming yourself. That's the reward of self-rust. It's not loud, but it's life-changing. It's what allows you to build habits, pursue goals, and stay grounded through challenges. You don't need to wait for a perfect moment. The moment is now. Start with one promise, just one. Make it small, make it clear, and then show up for it like it matters because it does. Chapter 5. Guard your focus from constant stimulation. Your ability to focus is one of your most valuable tools. It's how you create, solve, learn, and improve. But in the world we live in today, that focus is under attack. From the moment you wake up, you're surrounded by things competing for your attention: notifications, messages, headlines, videos, alerts, and noise. And the more stimulation you let in, the harder it becomes to think clearly, stay present, or do anything that truly matters. Most people don't even realize it's happening. They just feel constantly distracted, tired, and mentally scattered. But the truth is, your mind was never designed to handle non-stop input. Guarding your focus is not a luxury anymore. It's a necessity. You cannot expect to grow, create meaningful work, or build a disciplined life if your mind is constantly pulled in 10 directions. If you want to build something real, you have to protect the quality of your attention, like it's your most limited resource because it is. Time can be scheduled, but attention is what gives time its power. 10 minutes of deep focus will always beat an hour of shallow distraction. But that kind of focus must be protected. Start by noticing how much stimulation you let in without thinking. Every time you pick up your phone without a reason. Every time you open a tab you don't plan to check. Every time you let a notification pull you away from what you were doing. These moments might feel small, but they cost you more than just time. They cost you depth. They interrupt your thinking. They fragment your concentration. And the worst part is, they train your brain to crave constant input. The more you give in to distractions, the more your mind starts seeking them out. You may find yourself checking your phone in the middle of a task, not because something important happened, but because your brain is used to being interrupted. That's how stimulation rewires you. It turns silence into discomfort. It turns effort into boredom, and slowly you lose your ability to sit with anything for longer than a few minutes. Reclaiming your focus starts with boundaries. You need to create space where your attention is safe, free from noise, notifications, and interruptions. This might mean turning off all alerts for a block of time. It might mean placing your phone in another room while you work. It might mean choosing to do one task at a time and not jumping to the next until it's done. These are not drastic steps. These are basic steps, but they make a massive difference. You must also stop treating focus like something you hope to have. Focus is not a feeling. It's a decision. It's a habit you build by training your mind to stay with one thing longer than it's comfortable. You don't become focused by chance. You become focused by practice. And the more you practice, the stronger your mind becomes. Choose specific times during your day to engage with stimulation instead of checking your phone 20 times randomly. Check it on purpose at a specific moment. That way, your brain learns that it doesn't need to be on high alert all the time. When you create these windows, you begin to control your input instead of being controlled by it. You also need to choose what kind of information you allow into your world. Not all input is equal. Some things you consume are useful, clear, and help you grow. Others are noise that leave you feeling scattered, irritated, or anxious. You are not obligated to keep up with every headline or every trend. Your peace of mind is more important than being constantly informed. You don't need to know everything that's happening to live a strong, intentional life. Create a system for your digital life. Organize your tools. Simplify what you use. Limit what's open on your screen. When everything is urgent, nothing is meaningful. You don't need 15 apps running at once. You need one task that matters. That's where deep work happens, in the moments where nothing else is competing for your mind. Even during rest, guard your attention. Mindless scrolling is not a rest. Constant entertainment is not recovery. Real rest allows your mind to reset. That might mean going for a walk, sitting in silence, or doing something slow without checking your phone every few minutes. When you start giving your mind quiet time again, you'll be surprised by how much clearer you think and how much better you feel. You must also begin rebuilding your tolerance for boredom. If you can't sit in silence for a few minutes without grabbing a screen, your focus is already slipping. Train yourself to be present. When you're eating, eat. When you're talking, listen fully. When you're working, give it your full effort. This might sound simple, but in today's world it's rare. And because it's rare, it gives you an edge. Train your mind like a muscle. Focus is built just like strength. Start with a small session. Pick a task. Set a timer for 20 or 30 minutes and commit to staying with it fully. No checking, no switching, just one task, full attention. After a break, Do it again. Over time, this practice rewires your brain. It clears throat, makes single tasking easier. It increases your capacity to go deep. Multitasking is one of the biggest lies people still believe. It feels productive, but it splits your focus and lowers your performance. You're not doing more, you're doing everything worse. Choose to be someone who does one thing at a time with full presence. That alone puts you ahead of the average person who's constantly scattered. Protect the start and end of your day. Don't begin your morning by diving into stimulation. Avoid grabbing your phone the moment you wake up. Start with quiet. Let your mind warm up slowly. Chapter 6. Use discomfort to grow emotional strength. Discomfort is not the enemy. In fact, discomfort is often the starting point for real growth. The problem is most people spend their entire lives trying to avoid it. They avoid hard conversations, new challenges, uncertainty, rejection, and anything that might stretch them beyond what they know. They seek comfort because it feels safe. But comfort, if lived in too long, becomes a trap. It keeps you the same. And the longer you stay in it, the more fragile you become. You don't get stronger by staying where things are easy. You get stronger by choosing to face what makes you uncomfortable and showing yourself you can handle it. Emotional strength is not about being tough on the outside. It's about being steady on the inside. It's about being able to feel uncomfortable emotions, fear, embarrassment, anxiety, sadness, and still take action. People often believe that strong individuals don't feel those things, but the truth is, they feel them fully. They've just trained themselves not to run from those emotions. They've learned how to move through them without breaking. And that strength didn't appear overnight. It was built moment by moment, in times when they chose discomfort over avoidance. If you want to grow into a version of yourself that can handle life with clarity and courage, you need to get honest about the areas you avoid. Discomfort always shows up in those places. Maybe it's the fear of failure that keeps you from starting something new. Maybe it's the fear of judgment that keeps you from speaking up. Maybe it's the fear of making the wrong decision that keeps you stuck in place. Those fears are natural, but they're not final. They're a signal, a sign that there's something on the other side of that emotion that's worth exploring. If you ignore it, you stay stuck. If you face it, you grow. One of the most powerful decisions you can make is to stop avoiding discomfort and start working with it. You do that by putting yourself in situations where you have to stretch. You don't need to dive into extreme situations. You just need to choose challenges that make you feel a little exposed, a little nervous, a little unsure. That space between comfort and fear is where growth lives. And the more time you spend there, the more you expand your capacity to handle life. When you do something uncomfortable and come out on the other side, something happens inside you. You start to trust yourself more. You begin to realize that fear is not a stop sign. It's just a feeling, and feelings can't stop you unless you let them. Every uncomfortable step forward becomes evidence. Evidence that you can face challenges and keep going. That evidence is what builds real confidence, not the kind that's loud or flashy, the kind that's quiet, steady, and earned. Discomfort also teaches you patience. When you're uncomfortable, you can't rush the process. You're forced to slow down, breathe, and take things one step at a time. That's how you develop emotional control. You stop reacting to every little thing. You start observing. You create space between what happens and how you respond. That space is where strength is built. It's in that space where you stop being a victim of your emotions and start becoming the one in charge of them. Most people live in avoidance mode. They distract themselves when they feel overwhelmed. They numb out when emotions rise, but nothing changes until you face what you're feeling head-on. The emotions you run from are the ones that keep controlling you. The emotions you sit with are the ones you eventually understand and grow through. That's why discomfort is a gift. It points to the places inside you that need attention, not avoidance. Emotional strength is not developed in peace. It's a challenge. It's developed in the moments when you feel like giving up, but choose to stay. When you feel like running away, choose to stay present. That choice doesn't always feel good in the moment, but it creates something powerful long-term. It creates grit. It creates character. It creates a sense of pride that no one can take away from you. When you train with discomfort, you start to raise your threshold for strength. Things that used to shake you don't shake you anymore. You become more grounded, more stable, not because life got easier, but because you got stronger. That's the kind of growth you carry with you into every area of your life: work, relationships, goals, habits. It all improves when your emotional strength improves. You also learn how to separate your thoughts from your truth. Discomfort brings out the loudest thoughts, the ones that say you're not good enough, you're going to fail, you'll look stupid. Chapter 7. Improve one small behavior every day. You don't need to change everything at once to improve your life. What you really need is to improve one small behavior every day. That's where real progress starts. It's not about making dramatic changes overnight. It's about making quiet, intentional decisions daily that slowly shift who you are and how you live. Most people wait for the perfect moment to start. They wait for the motivation to be strong enough or the conditions to be just right. But growth doesn't require a perfect setup. It requires consistency with the little things that seem too small to matter but actually shape everything. The truth is, your life is built on your habits. What you do every day becomes who you are. And the small things you choose to repeat, whether good or bad, accumulate over time. If you go through your day unconsciously repeating behaviors that don't serve you, nothing changes. But if you take one behavior, even one that seems tiny, and decide to improve it today, you've taken back control. That decision might not feel powerful at first, but it's the kind of decision that creates momentum. Improvement starts with awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. Begin by watching your actions. How do you start your mornings? How do you respond to stress? How do you use your time between tasks? Where are you choosing comfort over progress? Don't judge yourself. Just observe. That awareness creates space, and in that space, you gain the ability to choose something better. Not something huge, just something better. Pick one thing each day, one small behavior. Maybe it's drinking a glass of water right when you wake up. Maybe it's responding with patience when you feel irritated. Maybe it's standing up straight when you're tempted to slouch. Maybe it's putting your phone down while eating. Whatever it is, make it specific, simple, and something you can actually follow through on. The goal isn't to impress anyone. The goal is to train yourself to follow through. That's how confidence is built. Not through hype or emotion, but through action. When you make a promise to improve one small thing and then do it, you send a message to yourself. I can be trusted. That message builds your identity. And identity is what drives long-term change. You're not just acting differently. You're becoming someone who values growth. It's important to understand that change is not a single event. It's a pattern of effort. And the best way to create that pattern is by focusing on what you can do today, not what you wish you had done last year or what you hope to achieve a year from now. Today is where your influence lives, and the way you spend today is a direct investment in your future. One good choice today makes the next good choice easier. That's how momentum is created, one decision at a time. Improving one's small behavior each day also helps you avoid overwhelm. One of the biggest reasons people quit on self-improvement is because they try to fix everything at once. That pressure becomes too much, and they burn out. But if you commit to small, consistent upgrades, you stay grounded, you stay focused, and you stay in the game. Long-term change comes from staying in the game. Your brain loves small wins. Every time you complete a small improvement, your brain gets a reward. That reward builds a habit loop, and over time, those loops become automatic. It no longer takes effort to do the right thing. It becomes your new normal. That's the power of small adjustments. They seem insignificant, but they reshape the structure of your life. You don't need a full roadmap. You just need to know what to improve today. Let that be enough. The results will come later. Right now, your job is to keep showing up. There will be days when you don't feel like improving anything. Days when progress feels slow. That's when the discipline matters most. On those days, choose something even smaller, but still choose something. Keep the habit alive. Over time, you'll look back and realize that the person you are today came from hundreds of those small decisions. You'll notice that the way you think, act, and respond has changed. But it didn't happen all at once. Chapter 8. Choose consistency over excitement and impulse. Most people start strong, but finish nowhere. They get excited about a goal, a plan, a new routine, and for a moment, it feels like everything will change. They go all in for a few days, maybe even a week, riding on the high of motivation. But when that feeling fades, and it always does, they slow down, then stop, then move on to the next thing that promises a spark. That cycle repeats over and over until they lose faith in their own ability to follow through. This isn't a motivation problem, it's a consistency problem. And if you want real change in your life, you have to choose consistency over excitement and impulse. Excitement fades fast. It's emotional, and emotions shift. Impulse is even shorter. It reacts in the moment and disappears just as quickly. Neither one has staying power. But consistency, while not as flashy, builds something solid. It's not about intensity. It's about showing up regardless of how you feel. When you choose consistency, you begin to build a foundation that doesn't crack every time things get tough. You begin to build habits that run deeper than mood or circumstances. We live in a world that constantly feeds your appetite for the new trends, new tools, new shortcuts. Snorts. But growth doesn't come from chasing the next shiny thing. It comes from doing the simple things over and over, even when they're boring, even when no one notices. Even when your mind says, "This isn't exciting anymore." That's the point where most people stop. And that's exactly where you need to keep going. Choosing consistency means being honest about what actually creates results. It's not the perfect routine or the intense burst of effort. It's the small, repeated actions done with discipline. You don't need to be extreme. You need to be committed. Excitement might get you to start, but it's consistency that gets you to the finish line. The problem is that consistency doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it feels repetitive. Sometimes it feels slow. But that's exactly why it works, because most people won't stick with something when it stops being thrilling. When you live by impulse, you're controlled by temporary emotions. You act based on what feels good right now instead of what matters long term. You skip the workout because you're tired. You spend the money because you're bored. You quit the routine because progress isn't instant. But every time you give in to impulse, you delay the life you say you want. Every time you choose consistency, instead you move one step closer to it. You must learn to stay committed to the process without needing constant rewards. Real progress doesn't always give you immediate feedback. Some days will feel like nothing's changing, but that doesn't mean it's not working. Seeds take time to grow, and you can't see the roots forming below the surface. But if you stop watering, the growth dies. That's what quitting does. It kills momentum just before the results begin to show. Consistency builds character. It shapes how you see yourself. Every time you follow through, you reinforce the identity of someone who shows up. That builds trust. That builds confidence. And confidence isn't built by getting hyped. It's built by doing the thing you said you do, especially when you don't feel like doing it. That's when it counts the most. To stay consistent, you must lower the pressure. Stop trying to be perfect. Perfection is unsustainable. Instead, focus on showing up even if the effort is small. Consistency doesn't mean doing everything at full intensity. It means never fully stepping away. If all you can give today is 20%, then give that. What matters is that you stay in motion. Progress is a result of staying engaged over time, not performing perfectly for a short time. Create systems that support your consistency. Relying on motivation is risky. Build routines that remind you to act. Use reminders. Set time blocks. Keep your environment clean and focused. These small steps remove friction. And when you remove friction, consistency becomes easier to maintain. Structure helps when discipline feels low. Also, track your progress. Chapter 9. Check your actions against your values. There's a point in life where you stop asking what looks good and start asking what feels right. Not right in the moment, not right according to someone else's expectations, but right by your own standards. That's where values come in. Your values are the foundation of your decisions, the compass that keeps you honest when life pulls you in different directions. If you don't know what your values are, or if you rarely stop to check your actions against them, it's easy to get caught in a cycle of doing more, but feeling less. That's because progress without alignment always leaves you feeling disconnected. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real. Real with how you spend your time, real with what you say yes to, real with what you allow in your life. Every action you take is either aligned with your values or it's not. And when too many actions go against what you say matters, the cost isn't just time. It's trust in yourself. You start to feel off without knowing why. You feel busy, but not proud. You feel active, but not fulfilled. That disconnection doesn't happen overnight. It builds silently through repeated compromise. Living with values doesn't mean having everything figured out. It means using a simple question often. Is what I'm doing right now matching what I say is important to me? If you say you value health but skip movement daily, something's not aligned. If you say honesty matters but avoid difficult truths, you're living in conflict. If you say your relationships come first but give them your leftovers, you're not acting in line with your priorities. And when that gap grows too wide, it creates stress. Mental, emotional, sometimes even physical. That stress often shows up as frustration, fatigue, restlessness, or even a lack of motivation. Not because you're lazy, but because your actions have lost connection with your deeper purpose. When you're clear about your values and your actions match them, you don't need hate. You don't need someone to push you. Your direction becomes obvious, and energy follows clarity. Checking your actions against your values means slowing down long enough to be honest with yourself. It's asking hard questions without rushing to fix the answer. It's recognizing when you've drifted and having the strength to adjust. That's growth, Not in the loud, dramatic ways, but in the small decisions that no one sees. The decision to stop lying to yourself. The decision to cancel something that doesn't feel right. The decision to apologize because integrity matters more than being right. There's a quiet strength in alignment. It doesn't always feel exciting, but it gives you peace. When you go to bed knowing that your actions matched your principles, that's a deep kind of confidence. You're snorts, no longer trying to keep up with everyone else. You're building something solid within yourself. That doesn't happen through external wins. It happens through internal consistency. Values aren't things you write down once and forget. They need to be revisited regularly. Life changes, seasons shift, and sometimes what mattered last year isn't what matters today. That's not weakness, it's maturity. But if you never pause to reflect, you might still be chasing an outdated version of success, or worse, someone else's idea of it. Start by identifying your top values, not the ones that sound good on paper, the ones you actually want to live by, the ones you're willing to make sacrifices for. Chapter 10. Recommit daily, even after personal setbacks. Progress doesn't follow a straight line. No matter how committed you are, there will be days you miss. There will be weeks where everything feels off. There will be moments when you make decisions you regret. When you lose control, when you fall short of what you promised yourself. That's part of being human. Setbacks are not the end of growth. They are part of the process. But the difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck is not who avoids setbacks. It's who decides to recommit after them. You can't control every fall, but you can control how quickly you get back up. Recommitting daily means accepting that yesterday doesn't define you. No matter how badly things went, no matter what you didn't follow through on, no matter how disappointed you felt, today gives you a new choice. That choice is quiet. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't come with a dramatic moment. It comes in the silence of your thoughts. When you decide to begin again without needing permission and without waiting for the perfect timing, that choice carries power. It shifts you from shame to responsibility, from frustration to progress. You don't need to erase the past to move forward. You just need to stop letting it control your next step. Too many people stay stuck not because they can't grow, but because they believe they've failed too much to try again. They carry guilt, and that guilt turns into avoidance. But the truth is, falling off track doesn't make you weak. Refusing to return does. Recommitting is strength. It's self-leadership. It's proving that your future matters more than your mistakes. When you stumble, the voice in your head will try to convince you to wait. It will say, "Fix everything first, then start again." That voice is lying. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to take the next step and the next one. You don't build momentum by overthinking. You build it by acting, even if it's messy. Especially when it's messy. Setbacks come in many forms. Sometimes it's breaking a habit. Sometimes it's losing your temper. Sometimes it's abandoning a goal you said was important. Whatever the setback, the principle stays the same. Don't let it last longer than it needs to. One day of slipping doesn't need to turn into two. One bad decision doesn't mean your standards are gone. The faster you return, the less damage is done. Not because you rush, but because you refuse to give up on yourself. You have to develop the skill of self-recovery. That means not waiting for motivation to show up. That means not needing external validation to believe you're worthy of trying again. You decide. You choose to act in your best interest, even when it's uncomfortable. That ability to return without shame builds emotional strength. It teaches you that your commitment is deeper than your mood. Recommitting daily doesn't mean starting over every time. It means picking up where you left off, adjusting what you need to, and continuing forward. Sometimes it means scaling back. Sometimes it means simplifying. But it never means quitting. Your pace might change, but your direction stays. Your effort might fluctuate, but your intention stays strong. Give yourself permission to learn from what didn't work. Setbacks are feedback. They show you where your systems are weak. They reveal where your emotions tend to take over. Use them. Reflect, adjust, and re-enter with more awareness.